So you mentioned that there are a lot of obstacles that are currently preventing users from entering the cryptocurrency industry. And the massive adoption of the users are not coming yet. So what's your view of that? And how far do you think we are on that journey? How soon will the mass adoption happen in the future?
Sure. I think I can answer that question from two perspectives. Like the first one being onboarding new developers to build products that can attract, the mass, right? The second perspective is, how do we refine the user experience? How do we simplify the user experience, to onboard more users, right? So on the first part, I think, over the past 5 years, the infrastructure has becoming more and more mature, right? There are more developer tools, there are more essential modules, and there are more best practices of building smart contracts. We've seen, the languages, turning from Solidity, which is still being used on smart contract, to Rust-based languages on Solana, on Near, on Avalanche, these new layer ones, right? That also opened doors to new developers, to traditional Web 2 developers. And also we've seen like a lot of merging between Web 2 and Web 3 companies and protocols. Recently, Instagram is going to support NFT minting for their creators. And I think that's a huge move because there's going to be a huge amount of new users coming into the Web 3 world to really take advantage of getting, holding the ownership of their digital product, digital contents. So there's I think that the future will be more and more Web 2 companies, they start to embrace the Web 3 culture and embrace the Web 3 rules and infrastructure. And then there's going to be a lot of abstractions for normal users that they don't need to understand anything about the technology, but they can still use the product with simplified user experience. And on the second part, I always think that crypto wallets is a huge barrier has a huge barrier of entry, right? You need to write down your seed phrase. You need to safeguard your seed phrase in a safe, right? Which is very tiring and very easy to get lost. So we are also working on solutions, and as well as other teams, to simplify user experience with new cryptographic algorithms, with new technologies, to do the kind of the key shards, right? And then to let normal user to store their keys in multiple trustworthy settings instead of just one, right? So, for example, keyless wallet is one big concept where users can choose what are the vendors that they trust, right? It can, a shard of their keys can be stored in their local device, right? And then other shards can be stored on different clouds, like Apple, iCloud, Google Cloud, or Amazon. Like they can choose the places that safeguard their keys, and then only with a threshold, for example, 2 out of 3 key shards combined, they can retrieve the key. So in that case, even if like the user loses his device, he or she can still retrieve the key stored in some other places, trustworthy places. I think that can also lower the barrier of entry for mass adoption.
I see. I think a lot of different wallet providers, they have always trying to improve the user experience. And I do think in the long term, there should be an easier solution for mass adoption of the users. And today I just saw like Robinhood start the promotion of saying, they're going to also start to provide users with cryptocurrency wallets. So I think that will introduce a lot of new users into the space.
Yeah, I think it's a natural progress because at the end of the day, like the users do want to hold their own crypto assets, right? So even though like the users sign up with Coinbase, with Robinhood, with Binance, as we are moving forward, right, on the decentralized world, there's going to be more and more attractive applications for these users, right? So at the end of the day, Robinhood, is natural for Robinhood to introduce their own crypto wallet, just like Coinbase wallet, to onboard, to direct the traffic, into that decentralized world as a gateway. So I do think there are going to be a lot of like Web2 companies to get into the space and eventually have their own version of wallets, to hold the users.
Yep, and that should create more competition in the Web3 world.
Right, and it can also attract more and more users. I think that is kind of a one key, cornerstone for mass adoption to occur. And I think that will happen in the next maybe 3 to 5 years. It's not going to be tomorrow because all these big tech, they are huge corporations, right? There's a lot of bureaucracies, but they can't miss that opportunities, right? So all of them are trying to compete with each other to embrace, the Web3 world. And eventually, like the users will realize that it's good to hold their own digital assets, right? It's better to safeguard your own digital contents, right? Instead of store it on these big tech or lose all the control of your own data.